making sure they've got the assistance with any education issues, mental health issues, developmental delays, making sure that this place is the place that they can come to get the best possible start in life. This particular program is across 4 schools, and this will be established this will establish these schools as community hubs, linking students, families and community to a range of supports that make a difference. And the 4 schools that will be involved is obviously Clarkson Primary School, where we are today, Ashburton Drive Primary in Gosnells, Girrawheen Senior High School and Roebourne District Senior High. These schools are already doing some amazing work, and I'll let the Minister for Education tell you about that in just a moment. But one of the aspects of the trial that really stands out for me is how we can support building stronger communities. And that is important to my government, making sure that we build stronger, supporting communities to help the most vulnerable. So each connected community school will work with their school community to respond to the unique needs of that community. So it's not a one size fits all. We know that kids don't come in one shape, one size. We know the issues that confront their community aren't uniformly felt across all schools. So the real strength of this program is that this trial is that it will build programs to meet the needs of that particular school. And as I said, this could be around making sure they hit their developmental pathways, making sure they get assistance when some of their schooling becomes challenging, making sure we help them with health, mental health and other services. And we know that schools are such an amazing asset, because this is an invaluable opportunity to be part of a child's life and a part of a child's journey. I'm really excited about this program. This really sort of provides you with an insight into what the future of schooling looks like in Western Australia. And while our 4 schools will be leading this work because they know their communities best, we will obviously be supporting them through the agencies and health, education and communities, all working together to support some of the most vulnerable communities that we have. As a dad of 2, I know how important it is that your kids get the support they need in the school environment. So I'm delighted to welcome this new pilot today, and I'll hand you over to the Education Minister to provide you with a few more details.
Thanks very much, Premier, and thank you everyone for coming to Clarkson Primary School. It's really lovely to not only be joined by the Premier, but the Minister for Disability Service, Hannah Beasley, and also, of course, Mark Folkard, the local member. And a thank you especially to Sarah and all your team for allowing us to make this important announcement here. And I know you welcome it, as being one of the schools that we're announcing today is one of the 4 schools that we're announcing as the Connected Community School Trial. It's a 4-year trial, $21 million, and as the Premier said, has been funded through our landmark Better and Fairer Schools Agreement with the Albanese government. That was a transformational agreement, and this is an example of the difference that it will make to children and families in Western Australia. And it's about supporting children and their families from the earliest years of development right through to beyond school. A connected community school is one that provides a range of services and activities, including beyond the school day, to help meet the children's needs, their families and the wider community. And as the Premier said, the 4 schools are here: Clarkson Primary School, Ashburton Drive Primary School, Girrawheen Senior High School and Roebourne District High. We will now work with them, and they will work with their school communities to identify and address their unique needs. And I might suggest they've already done a significant amount of work in that regard. That could look like bringing services such as health or community services onto the school site to ensure that families can easily access the supports they need. It's about the right support at the right time in the right setting. The aim is to make it easier for students and their families to access the services they need. And as I said, whether it's allied health services, social services, partnerships with Aboriginal controlled community organisations, early childhood programs, disability services, career pathway learning, parenting classes or after-school activities. Importantly, as the Premier said, these services will look a little bit different depending on the 4 sites. As you might note, we've also included a district high school in a regional setting, and we've also included a secondary school. The trial will also have a strong focus on partnerships and shared design approaches to make sure that we also meet the needs of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students and families. It's going to help us to be able to provide the right support at the right time, with the aim of improving children and families' well-being and ultimately academic outcomes. As a former teacher, I know that schools get the best outcomes when they have close connections with family and the community. And certainly Clarkson Primary School is known for doing that. And as part of the trial, a dedicated project team has been stepped up within the Department of Education to manage the project planning and support the trial school staff. And this is really important. The 4 schools chosen is really in recognition already of the important work that they are doing, and they are well placed to be the lead schools in what is an important trial. For example, here at Clarkson Primary School, and Mark has often told me they do incredible work with their students and their families and communities. They've established relationships with Nagala, Derbyl Yerrigan, the Pat Giles Centre, Wansley and Anglicare already. They also offer an early start program for 3-year-olds and their parents and carers to focus on school readiness. And we're making an announcement on 4 schools to trial this Connected Communities, but I also want to acknowledge there are many schools out there already trialling and working in different ways to support their students where they need them. And I want to acknowledge that. And that's why this work is so important, because it'll also be able to provide a framework to assist other schools as they continuously go down this path. Over the next 2 terms, that's this year, the 4 schools will recruit staff and work with their school communities on identifying services that would benefit their school community. And to support the trial schools and their staff, they'll also receive funding for salaries to support the implementation of the trial. And that's a really critically important part of this. We understand and recognise it takes a lot of resource to coordinate and bring those services into the school community. And so I know the principals of the 4 sites will really value that they not only recognised for the efforts that they've made so far, but they're now also going to get more support to actually drive that change. There's also going to be some seed funding to get them off the ground, and then from 2026 they'll also receive additional resources, whether it's through social workers, additional wellbeing, FTE, but again that will be negotiated by each school with the department, because it'll look slightly different at each of the sites because the needs will be different. Importantly too, as the Premier said, and it's really great to have Hannah here today and also working with Meredith in the Department of Health, it's also about recognising and demonstrating that our government is thinking holistically when we talk about supporting children and families. Education has a significant role to play, and quite often it's the hub of the community. But it's really important too that we work collectively as a government and agencies collectively to make sure we support children and families where we know we're going to get the best outcomes at schools, which is often the hub of the community. I'm happy to take questions.
In terms of services, what specifically I know parents are an educational psychologist, for instance.
Yep.
It costs a lot of money.
Yep.
Is that going to be part of it?
Yeah. Look, I won't be, as Minister and as Government, we won't be prescribing the kinds of services that will be coming onto schools as part of this Connected Communities. That will be now the role of principals, talking to their communities to establish the kinds of services that are most at need for their particular environments. But it could, that's one example.
I'm sure there are families who just sail through life and don't need a lot of assistance. And
Yep.
how many kids in this school or the four schools, like a percentage-wise, would you think would be
Yeah.
needing to
Look.
contact this?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and it goes really to the heart of why we chose these particular schools in the first instance. There was a pretty significant selection process to choose 4 schools which would benefit the most. So it was also based on the ICSIA rating of schools. So all 4 schools have a ICSIA rating lower than 1,000, and that really looks at things like attendance. It looks at other development needs of those students in that school, and that's why I'm very confident in these 4 schools being able to really make the most of this investment that's coming into their schools.
So do you have an idea, I know it's a pilot, but do you have an idea on what it would cost to roll it out to, you know, across Western Australia, and how wide that net would be?
Yeah, look, it's going to be a significant cost, and like I said in my comments before, many schools are already making place-based local decisions in terms of providing some of those services. But we, as the Education Department, want to continue to support schools to be able to do that even more and even better. At the heart of it, really, is connecting up the services that exist within the community, but make them more accessible in a community hub right in the school where they need them. And I've often talked to principals and teachers. You know, they play a really important role in terms of connecting children and families to services, but having them located and available right here at schools make sure that we can get better outcomes.
No regional schools listed in that group of 4. Is there an
Roebourne District High School is one of the schools.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
One.
Yeah.
Is there a chance though that this will be pushed out further?
Yeah.
You know, talking like
Yeah.
North and
Yeah, as I said, this is a 4-year trial. So this trial at these 4 schools will run till the end of 2029. At the same time, there will be an independent evaluation of it, which kicks off at the beginning of the process so that it further guides us in terms of potentially rolling it out to other schools. And as I said, there are many schools already doing this kind of important work, and we want to see in ways in which we can support those schools to do it, because we know when kids get the right support at the right time, and we know very often, we hear it loudly, schools are the hub of the community. That's what we want to encourage.
4 years is a long timeline to assess the trials. So is there scope to expand it to more schools during the 4-year period?
Yeah, Jess, and that's what I was saying. The evaluation isn't going to happen at the end of 29. The evaluation is happening as we're doing the trial, because I expect that will further guide me and government in terms of future rollouts.
On another matter, 11 childcare centres in WA out of a list of 29 nationally have been issued notices for failing to meet standards. Is that good enough?
Yeah. I welcome the federal government's tough stance on providers to lift their game. The safety of children is paramount to our government, and it's paramount to the Albanese government, and I welcome the announcement. I'm also happy that ICRU have the resources and capacity to make sure that providers are given every opportunity to demonstrate that they meet the quality standards, and I welcome the Albanese government in supporting us in doing that.
WA has the highest number of warnings, though. Isn't that a concern?
Yeah.
It's more of a
Yeah.
systemic problem.
Look, I haven't seen the detail of the announcement yesterday. My understanding is that it's the first tranche of a number of schools around Australia. So I don't think that 11 in Western Australia is an indication that we have any more challenges than any other system. I think that's just them going through the list. But let's be clear, I'm happy for any provider in Western Australia to be on a list to show cause notice to lift their game.
I can give you some of the detail. 4 centres that care for primary school-aged children before and after school have been told to improve their standards. 7 other family and centre-based centres have been given 6 months to lift their standards.
That's right. And you know my announcement earlier this week. I'm very confident that ICRU have got the capacity to do that work, and I'm very confident that those providers have got the time to get their house in order, and will be doing everything to make sure that they do. And I welcome the Albanese government in supporting us in having this strong stance.
What do you know about these notices, about these enforcements?
Yeah.
Like, what's the non-compliance here?
Yeah, look, the list only came out last night, so I haven't been briefed.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
there any questions for Minister Beasley?
Yes.
Well, there might be.
She's come all this way.
I know, exactly. Lunch.
Very nice.
And so the Thriving Kids program, when did you become aware of that, and will WA contribute to that like other states are going to be?
Yes, so I became aware of that at the time of Minister Butler delivering his speech. We weren't pre-briefed on that speech or its contents or announcements, but absolutely we've been working very collaboratively with the federal government for over a year now in terms of foundational support. So we look forward to that continuing, even if it looks a little bit differently and is badged a bit differently, but we're looking forward to those conversations continuing. And yes, it is an equally co-funded model.
Are you supportive of what he said about reducing NDIS funding to between 5 to 6%?
Look, I completely understand the need to rein in NDIS growth. Absolutely do understand that. Those conversations are active in terms of what we agree with at a state level in terms of escalation or de-escalation of costs and growth.
There'll be a lot of nervous families, particularly parents of kids with autism, following Minister Butler's speech yesterday. I mean, what's your message to them?
That we are committed to providing them with the supports and services that they need. We always have been, and we've been always committed to a well-functioning and well-funded NDIS system. In terms of foundational supports, it's been on the public record for quite some time now that it has been designed for 0 to 9-year-olds with sort of lower complexity autism and developmental delays. So that's been out in the sector for quite some time, and those conversations have been happening for a long time. So a lot of this isn't a surprise.
I mean, when we hear, comments that, 60 therapy sessions a year aren't necessary, I mean, that's one a week. For a kid with autism who needs OT, to me it doesn't seem like, and to most parents, I think that seems like pretty basic necessities, not too much that's unsustainable. These kids do need help, don't they?
Look, I understand, and I'm one of those families, and so, our family accesses those exact type of therapies. So I'm very well aware of community concern. I'm a part of that community, as well as being Minister for Disability Services. But those are the active conversations that we need to be having with the federal government, and we'll be doing so, and really much looking forward to working collaboratively with them to ensure that each of our kids are getting the supports and services that they need. This here, what we're announcing today, is really actually reflective of what we've been trying to achieve through foundational supports and in providing the right supports in the right places at the right time for each community and to be able to build up the capacities of whole families and caring societies.
Have you asked for a briefing from Mark Butler, and if so, do you understand how much WA would have to contribute to this program? Is there a price for that?
So we're in active conversations. I spoke to Minister McAllister this morning, and I look forward to speaking to Minister Butler soon.
Yes, some families are worse off because of this. Would there be any help from the state government to maybe just bridge the gap or any measurements of anyone that's worse off?
I don't think there's been anything on the table that anyone is worse off. These are about providing the supports that are necessary to help people reach their capacities and young people get the services and supports that they need, as well as really lifting family capacities and being able to navigate a system that is quite complex. There's a lot of time that parents and carers don't know what sort of services are out there that do exist. So that's a part of this process as well in terms of enhancing and promoting what's already available.
With your other hat on, do you have any concerns currently about the functioning of the Port Hedland Council?
I do, and I've been public about that they have displayed some very concerning behaviour, and I'm keeping a very close eye on Port Hedland.
Is it coming to a head?
We'll see. I believe they're scheduled to meet next week from memory, and so I'm looking. I'll be viewing the contents of those meetings.
Have you been viewing a particular councillor's social media posts at all?
No, actually, if there's something that you would like to let me know later, please feel free.
Do you have is there an active inquiry into Port Hedland?
No.
Are you on the verge of that?
I'm monitoring their behaviour very, very closely. We're also reaching a difficult time in terms of elections coming on board, and that can complicate any sort of action like that.
Minister Whitton, sorry, can I just come back to you for
Sure.
one more question?
Sure.
Sorry, I just got one in. Do you think there should be an establishment of a national early childhood worker register covering all early childhood education and care staff? And if so, how long do you think it would take to set that up?
Yeah, look, thank you for the question. It's front of mind of all ministers, and looking forward to travelling to Sydney later today, and that is definitely on the agenda for education ministers, and I think indications are that all states will be supporting that.
Wonderful, thanks. Okay, any other questions?
Are there any updates today? Obviously, we got the update from the health department late yesterday that around 25 non-urgent surgeries have been delayed again today. Is that still the figure, or are there any more surgeries being delayed today?
No, well, the information I have is that around about 25 non-urgent elective surgeries were rescheduled yesterday. This is part of the work which all hospitals do right across the country to maximise the utilisations of bed space when they have high impacts from emergency departments. They reschedule some non-urgent surgery to make sure that those beds can get to the people who need them most. As you know, earlier this week we had 1,000 triple O calls and a record number of priority one call-outs. So we are in the grip of a difficult period of the winter flu season, and so we expect our hospitals to manage their resources as effectively as possible.
Any decision yet whether more cancellations will be required tomorrow?
Well, look, as I said, we cancelled around about 80 or rescheduled around about 80 non-urgent elective surgeries earlier in the week, 25 yesterday, so things are getting back into balance in relation to the scheduling of those elective surgeries. And this is part and parcel of bed management. We want the hospitals to schedule as many elective surgery opportunities as possible, and we want to continue to make sure that we assist anyone who comes in through the emergency department doors with more urgent needs as well. We plan, we model and make sure that we do the best we can to manage all those resources. And look, can I just say to the people of Western Australia, we know and we sympathise that when you've made preparations to have a surgery, you might have had to look up, find someone to care for the pets, make other arrangements at home in order to prepare yourself for that surgery. I really appreciate that it's incredibly inconvenient, and for some people it means ongoing inconvenience in relation to their particular issue. So we thank them for their patience. This is a difficult winter flu season. Our hospitals are being impacted by a significant number of call-outs by ambulances, and we are managing the best we can. This happens on a regular basis across all state-funded health systems. I've been in this area for many years now, and I remember, Premier Barnett also having to defend similar practices. We undertake these practices because we want to do two things: make sure that we get care and assistance to the people who need it most, and make sure we maximise the use of our hospitals by managing the bed flows.
It's more than inconvenient though, isn't it? I mean, when you say non-urgent, one letter to the editor today reported that it was a brain biopsy that was delayed. I mean, if that is cancerous, then any delay can be life-altering.
Now, clinical experts make the decision about the urgency in relation to operations. And look, I've got a very good friend of mine who's recovering from a knee operation. That operation had to be rescheduled on a couple of occasions. It's inconvenient. Sometimes it means ongoing need to address the injury or the illness that they're suffering from, but we manage these things in a clinically appropriate way.
In terms of the very sad case of a baby.
So sorry, let's go to Jeff first.
Sorry,
yeah.
You can't dismiss it as a case of, well, this is a medical decision, because the doctor would do it as soon as he could do it. It's the circumstances that force them to make those decisions.
That's right. Our doctors and nurses make decisions every day about the care of the patients that are in front of them. And obviously, everyone would like to see that next patient now and be able to assist that patient straight away. But they need to also understand and weigh that against the needs of other patients as well. Our hospital system is one of the best funded in the nation, and they have significant resources to bring to bear. And that's the reason why we've had record levels of elective surgery being undertaken, particularly in the lead up to winter. But occasionally they need to manage those resources they need to manage those patients within the resources they have. Once again, I say we know this is inconvenient. For some people, it means ongoing difficulty. but we do these things in the best interests of all patients.
You talked before of the just
It's gone.
sorry, still,
Yeah.
still on
I
health.
was letting everyone else
Have a go.
I'll ask a very quick question. In terms of the very sad story of the baby in the drain, obviously a woman's being assisted police. What do you know about that?
Yeah.
In terms of how she's been helped?
Well, why don't we finish off the health questions first, and then we can come back. So yeah.
Just you said inconvenience, and you listed off obviously some of the things that people do in preparation for a surgery. But again, it is more than inconvenient. People lose income, they make other
Yes.
arrangements, and it's walking out of pocket. How can you give them confidence that they can move forward with booking these elective surgeries without the fear that it's going to be cancelled and then cause flow-on effects for them? Depending on their circumstances, it could be quite damaging.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and that's why we thank people for their patience. And if anyone is inconvenienced, we apologise for the inconvenience that comes with that. But it's part and parcel of a health system which is at the moment managing one of the most severe winter flu seasons on record. And so we thank people for their patience, and we thank them for working with their clinicians to understand the nature of the care that they'll be received. And we continue to make sure that we work with across all sectors of the system, of our hospitals, with the health department to make sure that we have the best possible service for people in Western Australia. And it's a service they can be proud of. It doesn't always get it right. Sometimes it comes under pressure, and that comes as an inconvenience to many patients. We thank them for their patience.
You said yesterday, though, that this spike in particular was a result of older patients plus winter flu season. Given both of those things we know are coming, we know WA's population is ageing, we know this flu season's been bad, couldn't this have been prevented?
Well, it's the reason why we have provided record investment in our hospital system, the growth of over 900 beds since 2021. We now have over 4,000 extra nurses working in our system than we did in 2021. So we're providing record investment and making sure that we continue to grow health services. Every year, you plan for escalations based upon previous experiences. Some years are extraordinary. I remember 2019 was a similar year where we were continuing, when I was health minister back then, where we were basically confronted with a very difficult flu season that year. Over 80 people, I think, died as a result of the influenza. So systems will be knocked from time to time by unusual events in terms of the pattern of disease or incidents of accidents and things of that nature.
On health, sorry.
No, keep going.
Aged care,
Yes.
which you have asked the feds to step up more on aged care. Mark Butler gave that short shrift yesterday when we asked him. He said that they've made record investments.
Yes, they have. Yes.
But the per capita aged care beds, WA is still way lower than the others, way lower.
Yes.
So have you specifically, and I believe it may have been more than a year ago, asked the federal government to match your loan facility for aged care capital works? What was their response?
Okay, yes, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the federal government has provided significant uplift in relation to their investment in aged care. But the fact of the matter remains is that Western Australia has a very low concentration of aged care beds. I think in your paper today you mentioned an EY report which puts that as high as a shortage of 2,900 beds. So that's why we need to work with the federal government to improve aged care in Western Australia. Earlier this week we had around about 360 people who were advised in relation to that specific question. But we have a great relationship with the federal government. The work they've done to improve primary health care in Western Australia through the urgent care clinics has been significant, and we must acknowledge that. Aged care remains a challenge, and that's why we'll be talking to them next week.
So Charles Gardner Hospital, how long does it take to fix the door of the morgue?
Well, door replacement works will commence shortly, and obviously it's not ideal when you have a situation where something like a door, which is very inconvenient for the workers and can compromise security, doesn't get repaired as quickly as you would like. But as a spokesperson for North Metropolitan Health Services reported, they had contingencies in place, including security, CCTV, to make sure that the security for the morgue wasn't compromised.
The case of the Armidale doctor whose charges of domestic violence were dropped by the prosecutors, suggesting that there was no prospect of a conviction, even though the wife was keen to give evidence, is a failure, isn't it, or at least the police prosecutorial branch?
Look, I want to get to the bottom of this. We need to understand why that case was discontinued. I want to acknowledge everyone who provides evidence or statements or appears before a court of law. That is a really confronting and difficult experience. But to provide evidence in relation to a family and domestic violence case, often when the perpetrator is in the room, is even more difficult. So I want to acknowledge the incredible courage of the woman who provided, who was prepared to come forward with the evidence to provide a prosecution. Now, there can be a range of reasons why a prosecution is discontinued, and I'll be asking questions of the police and DPP to find out what the actual reason was in this case.
Should I understand he's on leave, but should
take their work in relation to this and make the necessary decisions.
It does appear to fly in the face, doesn't it, of the message that everyone's trying to send to women, that if you step forward, if you speak up, we'll support you and we'll follow through.
Yes.
There was no follow through.
Yes.
I mean, how disappointing
Yeah.
is that?
Well, as I said, I've asked for answers in relation to what happened in terms of this particular prosecution. I'll wait for that investigation to take place. But it is obviously very disappointing when you have someone who's brave as this woman, that was prepared to come forward, to stand up in court, to make someone accountable for their alleged crimes. And it's really disappointing that prosecution wasn't able to progress.
What's happened to the Judicial Commission that has been promised many times before?
That's in front of the Attorney General. I understand it is something that he's keen to progress. I also understand it's fairly complex work, and that's why it is still to be completed. But that is a policy that the government is committed to.
Another woman died in Bassendean after being stabbed in Bassendean yesterday. They're believed to be domestic violence, I believe. I mean, just how much of a crisis is this?
I will await the police investigation to determine what the cause and the reasons behind this particular assault were. I want to just place on the record my thoughts with the first responders who would have confronted an incredibly difficult situation, very disturbing and confronting scenes as a result of this particular crime. Homicide detectives are investigating. I'll allow them to undertake their investigation first.
As for a crime, I will ask that question.
Yes.
Obviously, that horrible, awful, sad story in the train. The woman, tell us about the support she's receiving. I know you can't say too much.
Yeah, obviously I can't say too much, but this incredibly heartbreaking case is something which is obviously being investigated very deeply. A woman in her 30s has now come forward and is assisting police with their inquiries, and obviously she's receiving the care and support that you would expect in what is obviously a very difficult and disturbing situation.
The woman's health is obviously a priority, but I mean, are you able to confirm she's the mother?
No, I'm not. No, I can't.
Has there been any determination as to the cause of the infant's death?
I haven't received any information on that basis.
Can I do a little round circle here back to health?
Yeah.
Jess mentioned a case to do with neurological.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for someone going through that, it's extremely stressful, and other patients that have had to be rescheduled, are they receiving any mental health support? Because it drives you crazy when you're waiting for a diagnosis or an operation.
Or an operation,
It's
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, oh look, obviously we work closely with all the patients in relation to their scheduled operations, and when we have to reschedule those operations, we obviously liaise with them, both them, their GPs and their specialists, to make sure that they're getting the information they need. These are very difficult decisions which our clinical teams make day in, day out on the front line. We thank everyone for their perseverance, their patience, and apologise for the inconvenience which is brought by one of the fact that we are in the grips of a very difficult winter flu season. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.